You may already know that one of the cornerstone principles of Valencia's work over the past decade or more has been the notion that the college is what the students experience. That is, the best definition of the college is how they experience us. And it's hard to know that. So we've spent a lot of energy trying to understand what students are experiencing. About a year or two ago, we went through an intense process of listening to students, particularly students who are experiencing both Valencia and direct connect to UCF through Valencia. And they spoke eloquently and long to us about a lot of issues. And at the end of that, we were able to summarize what they had said to us they all felt like they needed to be successful. And here's what the students told us. First, they said, every student needs place. That is, they need to belong somewhere. They need to know they're connected in. That place may be in the class, in an online learning community. It may be larger membership in all of the college, but without a sense of place, that I belong here and this is my place, no matter where I came from, for example. Without that sense of place, they're not likely to be around very long. And it's important to create that. Second was pathway. Every student needs a pathway. Now, here's one of the real ironies in our work. Arguably, the most sophisticated, most successful, strongest self-managed learners in all of higher education are those who earn their way into a medical school. These are brilliant learners. They know how to succeed in school like nobody else does. And how much choice do they get once they're there? How many electives does a medical student get to choose in their first year? None. How much choice do they have about which professor to enroll with? None. What kind of schedule choices do they get to make? None. The most structured learning environment in all of higher education is in medical school, and it's with our most powerful learners, the ones who probably have the power to exercise choice well. But we take our weakest learners, those who may have graduated barely from high school, who've forgotten some of the things they really need to know to succeed in college, and we throw them to a community college and say, you figure it out. Here are 4,000 course choices you can make. Don't worry about declaring a major. Just start taking classes and it'll all become clear to you eventually. And they do crazy things. For example, they may self-advise to take intermediate algebra and work really hard and make a good solid B in intermediate algebra and then tell themselves, I need to rest my math brain for a semester and sit out a term or two before they take college algebra, which is crazy because we've allowed it. We haven't created structured pathways for learners who need the structure more than any others in higher ed. And we've been busy about redesigning that at Valencia now for the past year or year and a half to reduce choice, to strengthen pathways, to ask even our AA students to begin to declare majors, what we're calling for the working purposes meta majors, broad-based majors like business and commerce or technology and computers or some broad-based majors, so that they're taking the right core classes in the right sequence at the right time. That's a pathway. And we're in the best position to design those pathways, not the students, because we know what the technical requirements are either in the job market or beyond us in the transfer receiving institution. We should design those pathways, and the students should follow them. So, place, pathway. The third P is plan. Every student needs to have a plan. A plan is how you make the pathway your own. And a student who has a plan that lays out term by term, what courses am I going to take, in what order, when do I know I'll finish, has a much greater likelihood of actually accomplishing their goal and doing it more efficiently so that they don't misspend, for example, their financial aid funds and end up earning a degree and getting to their dream, their real goal, earlier and more effectively. So they need to have a plan, and we need to ask them in a structured environment to understand the pathways in front of them and to choose a plan and make that plan formal with the college earlier. So we've got place, we've got pathway, we've got plan. The fourth P the students told us about is purpose. It turns out, as we looked at students who were succeeding against the odds, that one of the really powerful predictors of student success was the student's sense of purpose for being in college. Why am I here? And those who came with vague purposes were much less likely to persist and ultimately graduate in the college. They were much more likely to hit difficulty, real academic challenge, and start withdrawing from courses early and just walking away. Now, the purpose doesn't have to be transcendent. We have some, and I think of Rafaela, one of our great alums, who knew from an early age that she wanted to be a physician in the Amazon River basin and help poor people have access to medicine. And she, from a very meager environment herself, made her way through Valencia as an honor student, went on to graduate from Rollins as an honor student, and is now in her third year as a medical student at University of Florida, spending her summers, by the way, in the Amazon basin. So a transcendent purpose can drive that kind of success. But sometimes it's a very simple, pragmatic purpose, like I'm no longer married and my children are depending on me alone now. And if I don't get an education, I won't be able to support my family. There are many, many women in particular who've been through that very experience at Valencia. And we have a great history in working with women transitioning back to the workforce successfully. And that story, just told in nursing, is a life-changing story for tens of thousands of women in our community. So purpose is important. And lastly, we heard from the students, in addition to place, pathway, plan, and purpose, that at the end of the day, for all our technology and all of our systems and all of the systemic work we do, that this is a personal experience and that they experience it personally and that persons have the impact on them. All of our institutional energy is mediated to them through real persons because they're persons. They're not numbers. They're not FTE. They're not a Social Security number or a Valencia ID number. They're individual persons with unique histories and destinies, and they want to be treated uniquely. And that, after all, is the only adequate definition of authentic human service, to render a unique response to the unique human being in front of you. And the challenge is, how do you do that to 70,000 unique individuals a year? This is the challenge to all of our great institutions. How do you, instead of depersonalize, how do you authentically personalize everyone you serve? And that's what we heard from our students too. What they loved best about Valencia were the people, and they named people who had an impact on them. They loved the small classes with professors who could get to know them and treat them uniquely. And every one of them had a story about how someone had made an exception to some rule for them because it made sense. It's a deeply personal experience. So these were the 5 P's that our students shared with us as we listened to them. Again, place, I got to belong somewhere. Pathway, tell me where I navigate through this maze. Plan, I'm going to make a pathway my own. Purpose, I know why I'm here and I'll stick through the hard times to get where I need to go. And personal, this is about people, not objects. And then later, we added a 6th P based on deep discussions all through the college. That P is preparation. A lot of our students come to us with 2 sets of problems. One set is, there's something I should have learned to be ready to study here, and I never learned it. And the second is, there's something I used to know that I need to be successful here, but I haven't used it in a long time, and so I've forgotten it. These are what we call developmental students. And as you know, our developmental education system is under dramatic change, everything that we talk about now. But what we've discovered is that even if someone tests as college level, that is, they have the discrete competencies in, say, math or writing or reading to be successful as a freshman, there are all sorts of other things they need to know to be a really powerful learner in a college environment. And these things require some preparation. And rather than launch students into the college and say, when you run up against a problem, we'll be here to help you, we think it's time now to launch them all well. It goes back to that start right principle that you've heard us talk about before. So we're designing the front end of the college as a new student experience to equip, to prepare every student to be successful as we can make them as they navigate not just through Valencia, but through other institutions beyond Valencia as well. And a lot of what we'll be investing in over the next few years is preparation for every student. So now we have 6 Ps, and these will be design touchstones for very concrete work we're doing, the way we hire, the way we design our curriculum, the way we assess our students, the way we induct them into the college, what we expect of them in their first courses, and so on.